to start. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Universal Design Fast Facts series. Today we'll be covering a topic related to using a tool called Wave to examine websites and web pages accessibility. My name is Khalil Iksher. I am the Assistive Technology Specialist at UNC Charlotte in the Office of Disability Services, and I've been there for about 9 years. And with me is Katie Monti. She will introduce herself.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I am the ADA project coordinator. I've been with the university for about 16 years and worked directly with students that received accommodations for several years. But for the last 5 or 6, I work with the various campus entities to make sure that all the services we provide and the things that we do are compliant with ADA guidelines and are as accessible and as inclusive as possible. So we're happy to have you today.
Yes, we are happy to have you. Just a quick introduction. This workshop started about 2 years ago. And before that, we used, and we still give about 6 hours of workshop, which is a 1-day in computer lab where attendee use a computer. We give them a Word file and we give them a Word file, and we work together in making that Word file accessible, and also we provide them with PDF file, and we work together in making that accessible. But we found that it is difficult to commit to 6 hours in 1 day or full day. So we thought, let's break it down to 12 sessions, 1 session per month. And that's why this is the time for session 6. So let's get to the next slide. So the objective of today's session, we will be able to define Wave and its main functions. And you'll be able also, by the end of this session, be able to utilize Wave on a website and interpret and fix the issues. So I'll give it now to Katie because she's the one who's going to present this session today.
Thank you, Halil. So this session is actually a new session in our series, and it discusses one of many website accessibility evaluation tools. There's lots of them out there. We've decided that this one is the most user-friendly, the most intuitive. Big parts of its services are free, and it works well, I think, for the IT professional, but also for the non-IT professional like myself. So it's easy to interpret some of their findings and fix the things that the tool has found. I am going to mention that this, like any other automated tool, is simply that. It's an automated tool. It is not a replacement for a very thorough evaluation for website accessibility, but it is a great tool to sort of get a person started. So if you're creating your own website and you want to make sure that the basics of it are as accessible as possible, this is a great tool to do that. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to play around with this a little bit and show you how it works and give you a chance to try it. And then we'll have a little discussion after that. So the Wave, the WebAIM tool, which I'll show you in a minute, it's very easy to use. You simply put in whatever web address you're wanting to evaluate, and you click enter, and the page loads, and then Wave highlights important information about the findings of whether or not your page is accessible and in what areas is it not accessible. So it uses different icons, which again, we'll see in just a minute. And it has a color-coded component to it as well. So it'll tell you errors, will indicate issues that can impact certain users and things that fail to meet the WCAG standards. Then it breaks it down into things like contrast errors. So that's something that we talk about in a different session, but it will share like what color contrast is not a good high contrast for people that have low vision. There'll be alerts that indicate elements that may cause issues, and that's why it's sort of that yellow warning kind of color. It has features, which are elements that will improve the accessibility of your page if implemented correctly. And then it'll talk about structural elements, which is another session that we have as well, which is sort of how to develop a structure on your page that works best for people who are blind and use screen reader software, and for other users as well, just to appropriately navigate the page. All right, so we're going to take a look here at let's show, well, I wanted to close this. Let's see. Just going to end that. Okay. So I want to make sure everybody can see the Wave homepage. Is that something that you're viewing right now? Okay, great. Great. Okay, so this is the main page. Here's the website address that you box where you can enter in the address. And what we're going to use today is this, which was created by another university, and it's sort of a demo page that is intentionally full of accessibility errors. And we're going to use this today to sort of show you how the tool works. So I'm going to copy and paste this into this page and let it load up. And you'll be able to see here, sorry, moving some things around here on my laptop. So you can see here on the left, there's lots of different things to look at. You can see these errors, contrast errors, alerts, features like we were just talking about on the previous slide, structural elements. So you can click on the details tab here, and it will break down all the icons on the page and what that issue is. And you can click the icon in the details panel here, and you can see when I did that, it put a little red dotted line against the header on the page, the Accessible University. And I can go over here and I can click on this, and it will tell you in a little box what's the problem is with the accessibility. So we have this header up here saying what university this is, and there's not alternative text with it. You can also click here, like the reference, like where does this come from? Why is that a problem? And over here on the left, it'll tell you all about that, which is my favorite thing about Wave, because it kind of educates you as you go along and as you're correcting things. So it'll say, you know, what does this error mean? Why does it matter? And then it'll tell you what to do, which is great. You can even go down to and click if you want to explore further. Well, what is the federal guideline that says this is necessary, and why? And you can explore that if you want to. For tech savvy folks, you can click on the code and it'll pull up the code for you as well. And I believe, Halil, you can, I mean, this is a demo page, but I think on your regular website, if you are familiar with the coding aspect of your site, you can go in here and do some corrections as well. Is that, am I accurate to say that?
Yeah, well, this will show you where is the error from the coding point of view. Then you need to go to the source on your servers and correct it over there. For example, in this line, this is an image element, and it requires an attribute called alt equal, then between quotations, for example, Accessibility University, or the alternative text. Alternative text normally describes the image or why that image was used. So in this case, it is image, so the element, and you will need an attribute called alt equal between quotations, whatever you want to type. So it helps know where is the location or where is the line of the error, but it will not fix on on the spot because it is a website. It is not like a Canvas course
Sure.
where you can fix on the spot.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll close that. Let's go to a different one. Let's say, let's look at some contrast errors on this page. So it's saying here on the left panel that there are at least 4 very low contrast components on this. So let's click one. Let's look at this one. And as you can see, there is low contrast. We've got a really light gray text for the word about, and it is, the background is sort of a taupe color, and those together obviously are not high contrast, make it really hard to see.
Can you click the code just to see the code?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I see it down here.
All right, so so this color is normally controlled by the styles CSS file. So that's why it is not shown here. But there's another advantage by seeing the code that you can tell your developer that this is the code, okay, that this code need to be fixed. Okay, so because sometimes you don't have access, for example, to the main coding on the server, but normally developers have access to the code and they will be able to know where it is located and fix it. Yeah.
Let's take a look real quick at some structural elements. So we can take a look here. It brought up the box here, and it's basically saying this is an unordered list, which could make it difficult for a person that uses a screen reader to understand the structure. Like, are these tabs? Is there an order to the tabs? Things like that. There's another one here.
All right.
Halil, you're muted.
So this website is built based on using tables. So UL is an ordered list, or actually it is a list. So there should be more information to explain that this is actually a tabs. So normally developers know how to fix this issue, but it was designed in the wrong way. So just a quick reference.
Sure.
I am not a developer, by the way, but I know about accessibility, so that's why we can provide this information that there's something wrong in this area related to reading the list. So it will be difficult for someone who's blind to understand that this is actually a tabs, not just a list.
So for someone like me that doesn't have, I know Halil said, you know, he's not a developer, but he does have some knowledge of that. For someone like me who doesn't have that background knowledge, but I am in charge of the accessibility website for our campus. So after I've created content and I ran a check, if I ran across some of these issues, as Halil said, some of them I can correct myself. Some of them I would at least have the information and the area of code to be able to reach out to my IT contact person and get help with that.
For example, if it is an alt text, normally alt text is added by the page manager or the content manager. But if it is related to colors, okay, you don't have control over colors. You will have to talk, especially, for example, at the header, the footer, the banners. Yeah, but the content in the center, you probably have some control over colors. But sometimes if it is out of control, you cannot fix it, then you can talk about this error to the developers at IT, and they normally get into the server and get into the code and fix it. And most of the cases, like if it is out of your control, then it is an issue with other web pages within the campus. So that's why it is good to consult a developer in our campus when something is out of your hand and cannot be able to fix it, because you will not fix it for yourself only, they will fix it for the whole campus.
Right. And we're hopeful, it's going to take time for the rollout, but we're hopeful that once the university moves to WordPress instead of Drupal, at least in terms of color and color contrast, we will have a little more flexibility. WordPress is generally known to be more accessible and have more options in terms of design. So again, our colors for our campus, for our branding can be difficult because that yellow gold that we have is not very, it doesn't really pass contrast checks in most situations. Our green on white or white on green will, black on white, of course, will. That gold that is our brand color is tricky. But again, the hope is that we will have a little more flexibility with the different styles than in the future than we have right now with Drupal. So I'm going to go back up here. Let's take a look at this. This is a classic image that is missing alternative text, which some of you have been attending our sessions and probably are already aware of that. So this is sort of the basics of how the Wave tool works. There's lots of different things you can explore within, within the tool itself. And I know every time I use it, I learn a little bit more every time. Okay.
Okay, let me talk about area, which is 0 here. Area is a code that you add to improve the HTML coding, but it is not used here sometimes, and it is tricky. If you don't use it in proper way, then it will convey a wrong information. That's why it is like a piece of knowledge that has to be learned first. So in general, if there's an error over there, you just convey the error to the developer and they should be able to fix it. We also recommend if you can run a screen reader. Screen reader is a software that is used by people who are blind. This gives you a quick overview of the issues, but it is not so practical. The practical testing would be using a screen reader, and then you can be able to hear and see what the screen reader is talking, what it is conveying information, and based on that, you will have a better judgment. Of course, screen reader, it is a knowledge base as well, but you don't need that much of it. Like a blind person will have a ton of shortcuts on that screen reader, and they can manipulate the computer using the screen reader very easy and quickly. For example, in my case, I know some of the screen reader commands that help me just see if the page is accessible or not. For example, you want to check if there is a good heading levels, if you want to check a good link naming, okay? If you want to check, for example, and that is actually visual, you don't need even a screen reader. If there's click here, click there, more, click for more information. Normally, those are not accessible because they are not conveying any information. I mean, if you have 10, click here, click here, click here, for a blind, what's different? It makes no difference for them. So you have to provide a clear descriptive links. Okay, instead of using a click here, you can say a click to know more about disability services and make disability service as a hyperlink. So you choose another phrase that has a meaning. So there's a lot about it. As Katie mentioned, the benefit here, knowing the error, there are issues need to be fixed. 2, that you can educate yourself by clicking on the information, and this way you know who it will impact and probably how to fix. If you can fix it, great. If not, then you have a more solid base and information that you can deliver to your developers, and they will be able to work on it. I hope that helps.
Okay, so we just did a brief demo. Let's take just a couple minutes, and why don't you try it real quick? Obviously, you can play with this a little more later as well, but you can just go to WebAIM, I think. Hold on. Let me make
sure.
If
you can post the link on the chat, that would be great. I'm trying to find the link.
Yes, wave.webaim.org.
Thank you. I meant to do that before we got started, and we can maybe Halil, you could put it in the chat.
Yes, we'll do.
And it is down here at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to ask you guys to just go to that site and put in a web page, maybe from your department or from your college, or just any web page that you're curious about. And go ahead and type it in there and just see what pops up.
And if you want, you can share your screen and ask questions. Good idea.
So I was curious about my ePortfolio, and I created it using Google Sites. And so when I run the check on it, there aren't a ton of errors, but there are 168 of the ARIA areas. Errors.
Ah.
And so I don't completely understand what those are.
Can you share your screen?
Sure.
Let me stop sharing. Okay. Go ahead, Jessica.
All right.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so my recommendation that you start from the errors. You have 5 errors and things like that. Then we'll look at area.
Ooh.
So you have some missing alt text. Let's click at one of these areas. All right, so let me see. Okay, I cannot control the machine. Can you scroll a little bit up to see the code?
Let me see if I can make it a little bigger.
Okay, hold on. I found it. So you see in the center, JS name, then there's area label.
Right here?
Yeah, the third line. Yeah, right there. Okay. I am not an area expert. I'm still behind in area. So there's something wrong with the area, but this is how it works. Area label, then you put back to site. I'm sorry. So that was automated, right? So the area, you did not add the area. It was added by Google Site. I'm not sure if it is an error actually. Can you click on the left side and see if it will provide information?
That's what I was just wondering, see what it says about that. No, it's just clicking the code.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm still behind in that. Maybe I still need the training on the area. Area is complicated for me. I'm still behind it. But
does the area the errors, Halil, does it interfere with, for example, screen reader navigation?
Yes, because screen reader sees the area code and it will convey the area code.
Okay.
So if you like, send me the link, give me access to your this website. I will check it using the screen reader and see if area has an impact. What exactly is going on using the screen reader.
And Jessica, while we have yours up there, if I may ask you to, we'll just use yours if that's okay, to show some other things as well. So I noticed you had a few alt text errors. Yeah.
Right.
So
I believe there's one here.
Sure. Yeah. Those are just some good examples.
Yeah. So those images for the screen reader, it will say either blank or. So what happens if you have an image and you made this image a link? So for example, if you click on Twitter, it will open a Twitter page. Now the screen reader will try first to find an alt text. If it doesn't find it, it will read the file name. And you know, in website, file name is not small. For example, image.g.
Really long.
Yeah, it could be long, like 4 or 5 lines with underscores and question marks and many things, and to read them letter by letter. Imagine how annoying would that be. That's why you should add an alt text for each one of this. So for example, in Twitter, you can say my Twitter link or Twitter, Facebook, my Facebook page, or Facebook, any wording would work. Just try to make it unique. Don't use something that is repeated. For example, image off, and each image off, because the screen reader will explain that this is an image. So you can immediately say, for example, Jessica portrait, for example, or just Twitter. Yeah, and that will make it easier for the end user, if they are blind or low vision and using a screen reader, to jump to the link, because they use the keyboard. So if they click T, it will jump immediately to the first T on the list, and that could be Twitter or any other link that starts with T. So that is my recommendation with these images. So we'll come here. You used heading level 1. You see H1 in the center, the page. Okay, now headings, there's, okay, can you scroll down? There's heading level 2 up there. Scroll down at the top. Yeah, something is heading 2. I'm not sure what was that, but I'll explain what is the difference. Heading is used to build the structure. It is not because how it look like. It is the outline of your topic or the outline of your web page. So heading level 1 should be used once because it represents the title of the page. So if you have it twice, that will be confusing for the end user, especially they are blind. When they hear heading level 1 twice, they will think that they may be moved to another page. So that's why heading level 1 only once used. Then heading level 2 is actually a subtitle of heading level 1. Then you have something underneath heading level 2 that explains maybe introduction or maybe about me or something. Then maybe there's a subheading that is under heading level 2. All right. For example, you could, let's say you're talking about United States of America. That is heading level 1. Then you have an introduction, that is heading level 2. Then you have states, that is heading level 2. Okay. Then you start North Carolina, that is heading level 3. Then you want to talk about a specific city, that would be heading level 4. So this is a hierarchy that you are building using the heading levels. And as you do that, end users will start building the same heading in their mind, and they will understand the page better.
It's very much like an outline
Exactly.
that you might create for a paper. So we talk about, headings and the style, so of your document, and it's similar for your website, to sort of how the structure of your website, which could help all users in terms of just the visual, but definitely would assist screen reader users to get an understanding of your structure of your website, and therefore where to find different things.
Gotcha.
Can you open a new tab and just put the link without the wave, your portfolio? All right. So for example, in the page here, heading level 1 would be Jessica and your title name. And maybe you can add portfolio or not. It's up to you. Welcome would be a normal text, not a heading. Or then you make it large and big, because welcome is not a title, unless if it is a title for you and you want to use it as a title, because like introduction, instead of using introduction, used welcome. Okay, then it is a title. Then that would be heading level 2. So you are the page, like the expert. Your page. It is your page. How you want to convey the information for end users. The point you want to convey it in a way that they can build the structure in their mind and not be confused with the information. So if you scroll down, so in my spare time, that would be heading level 2 as well. So because it is a title for another topic that you are talking about, and so forth. So I hope that helps. Thank you for showing the page.
Yes, thank you, Jessica, for for being our demo. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
How was the experience of the other attendee? Did you try it?
And from a time standpoint, we won't be able to really go over everyone's, but you know,
Yes.
definitely, I hope you'll find some time to play around and get a feel for your websites. Again, you might find a lot of the basics are pretty good in terms of, you know, contrast, color contrast, alt text for your images, things like that. And some of those, what I kind of refer to as the low hanging fruit, might be something that you could fix fairly easily. But it is, as Halil mentioned, it's also helpful to be able to identify areas that even are things that you might not be able to correct, but you might be able to get an IT professional to help correct and help sort of pinpoint exactly what help you're needing with that.
Any questions?
So in conclusion, as I mentioned in the beginning, Wave is one of many website accessibility checkers that are on the market. We like it a lot because the basic tool is free for all users and is intuitive for IT and the non-IT user. We, as mentioned before, my thing keeps changing kind of on its own. There we go. My mouse is doing its own thing today. It's also important to manually check websites, you know, for accessibility. Halil mentioned using a screen reader and running a check with that. That does require some knowledge of how to use a screen reader, but it is something that a Wave tool like this, being an automated tool, is not meant to be the end all evaluation tool to ensure compliance, you know, with requirements for website accessibility, but it is a great start, and you can always enlist the help of your IT representative if needed. So we're going to provide these slides to you guys, and we wanted to give you access to some of the other tools that we talk about in different sessions. So today we talked about Wave, but we have sessions on color contrast. There's a Microsoft accessibility checker. There is, within Microsoft, there is an accessibility checker for PowerPoint that I have found to be extremely useful and similar to Wave in that it identifies your issues and explains why it's an issue and how to correct it. We also talked about Acrobat accessibility checker, and the university has adopted the You Do It accessibility checker for Canvas, which can be helpful for those of you who have courses or have a lot of content that you use and share via Canvas.
I have a question here in the chat. So the question
Okay.
says, have you guys tried the accessibility check with Chrome browser? Well, most of the time, yes, we use Chrome. Of course, this is like the most common browser used, because this is part of my work, checking accessibility. I would use screen reader with Chrome, and sometimes with Firefox also. Sometimes in Apple computer, VoiceOver with Safari. So I hope that answered your question, but the point is, it is not Chrome, it's the content that Chrome is presenting.
Excuse me. So what I meant
Yes.
here is that there is an extension that you can check the accessibility within the Chrome itself. So my question for you guys, why do we need to use Wave if we already have all the tools that we need to check our accessibility within the Chrome itself?
What is the accessibility tool name?
It's within just like the developer tool within the Chrome itself. You can just like
correct.
go there and check it there.
The extension.
In your browser.
Yeah, thank you. So the developer tool is for developers. I find it complicated for end users to understand the coding and move from tab to tab within the developer tool. I liked it. I learned it very recently. So you can even check that contrast without the use of a specialized software or website. So the goal here is to provide an easy way for end users who is not tech savvy. So that the developer part, I especially like the DOM. Finding the error is not that easy. You have to be an expert in accessibility to understand what's going on that tabs. I hope that answered your question.
So for just like to clarify on this, the results or the report that Chrome extension provide is just like super easy and user friendly, non-technical people friendly. So
okay.
it's not something related to the technical side. It's more into just like a report on how just like to measure your accessibility check. So you can just like go there, or I can just like go offline with you and just like let you know. I just like was wondering, is there differences, or is there something else that's just like Wave can add to me other than the one that accessibility check within Chrome itself provide or not?
I think a lot of that is a personal preference. It sounds like
Okay.
you're very familiar with the Chrome extension. I know people who do not like to use that extension because they do find it to be too technical. So I think using what works best for you is great. We interact with a lot of users who maybe have never even created or worked on a website before. And so from that standpoint, we felt like it would be best to give them a more simple tool. But I agree with you that, as we said, there's lots of tools out there. This is one that we felt was important to share with others on our campus, because we do have many people who have access to creating websites, but have had no background training in developing websites. And so I think we felt this tool might work a little better, but certainly the Chrome extension, if that's something that works well for you, I think that's wonderful.
I would like to add that using Wave will provide you also with the conflict with WCAG 2.0 AA or AAA. It will tell you where are you conflicting. I believe the developer tool will not tell you what is going on. It will tell you there's an issue, and sometimes you have to figure it out. I mean, it will not just highlight by its own. In the Wave, you saw these little boxes, and it is grouped by red and orange and gray. And for each error, it will also tell you who it will impact in the community. Like, will it impact people who are blind or who are deaf, who are with cognitive disability? So it will provide more information that is not in the developer tool.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is just, again, because we like to share the slides. These are other resources that you might find useful or interesting. And I apologize, my little subscripts are not subscripts. So I need to fix that. That's a little confusing, the 1 and the 2, but those are meant to be subscripts for the entire link address that's down below. And we have both from our campus that Halil and I provide, as well as other professional training sources like Percipio. We've got some different resources available out there if you'd like to learn more around digital accessibility.
Any more questions?
Any questions, comments for today?
Oh, thank you so much. It was great having you in this presentation, and we look forward to seeing you in future ones.
And I'll just thank you all for your participation. Thanks, Jessica, for sharing your site with us so that we could use it as a reference. And thank you for all the really great questions about the different tools. As always, we appreciate your involvement with this. If you think of questions later or comments that you'd like to share, please feel free to contact Halil or myself. And we will also be sending you a survey just to get your feedback. We like to tweak these presentations, and we really rely on feedback from everyone for that. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.